profile.
Really, we're pulling him out of the darkness and into the light today so that you can kind of put a face with a name. And we're going to go through some of the cool stuff that you've been working on. And, you know, this really just, you developed really a whole product line that people have really no idea that you've done because you just haven't released it yet. So
That's right.
we've kind of TSR and Hammer, we've partnered, so we call ourselves the Hammer Soldiers a lot. But I just want to give them some definition of who you are. One of my favorite people in the world, man. Really, probably the most talented person at designing and creating, and you can give you one idea and you'll take it to a place that you didn't even know that idea could go. So you're fundamentally amazing at that. And that's one of the reasons.
Delay on the sound.
You know that
There was a delay
we
on the
want to
sound.
do what we're doing,
We're good now.
right? So we don't have time, with building the cars and all that stuff, to really do the design work, and that's kind of where you've entered in.
Right.
And you and Brad get along great. You kind of go back and forth to try to get ideas across, and yeah, then we end up with really cool things. There's like a thread of text messages. Yeah, my wife's like, "Who are you talking to?" So, and that's the creative process because what we're trying to do with this partnership is not only bring out really awesome parts, but take. It's really hard to have a new idea when it comes to drag racing.
That's right.
We are going straight. Let's not forget. We're going straight, and there's only so much that you can do with that. You think, but when you start looking at it at a deeper level, man, there's some really unique ideas on the table. There's a lot of stuff that there's just a lot out there.
Mhm.
So,
Well, I mean, just for those that don't know me, you know, I like to be a family man. I have a wife, 4 kids, and
Pull your mic up, Joe.
I'm in the Army full time. I'm a helicopter pilot by trade, so HC&D is a side business for me. It's pretty much a full-time business. But the only way to work more is to sleep less. So I do the helicopter pilot Army thing as my job, and then HC&D. It's allowed me to, because my bills are paid through the Army, to really work hard to develop partnerships. And that's where, you know, I met TSR guys at PRI, not this past year because we didn't have it the year prior, and our relationship has just blossomed from there. It's just, we mesh, it's shake and bake with everything that we do. I was a design major in college, architectural engineering specifically, and that's where I got a lot of my design background. I also was a visual artist stuff. I did casting, painting, stuff like that. So when it comes to the design and the artistic features of stuff, I've had that since a young age, you know, and I'm always trying to figure out how I can take something and make it look better without sacrificing function, or at least increasing the functionality of whatever it is that we're doing.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much me in a nutshell. And
it's so cool you fly helicopters.
yeah, man, it was awesome at first, but it's a job now. You know,
Yeah.
I've been long enough that it's a job. And
Not the same thing. People, you build race cars for a living? Like, well, yeah, it's really rad, but like
right.
it does turn into a job. So, yeah, we've always really appreciated the way that you look at things, because you definitely put a lot of thought and energy into making it aesthetically pleasing, which that's a big trend right now, man. There's a lot of guys that are really doing a lot of awesome work and stuff like that. And I think where our side of the deals kind of really came in is we are at the track, we are racing a lot, we are building, you know, complete cars. So for us, there's definitely a real big, you know, function and form for what we're doing, and we're really practical. I think that's kind of what the TSR brand's always been, is we are we try not to overbuild, and we always we want it to be elegantly perfect, and do exactly what it was intended to do. And you've really helped us do that, man.
well, I mean, it's taking the team holistic. You know, and we know in this business it takes a lot of time to do anything that you do.
Yep.
And it's leveraging that ability and that asset. You know, so my strengths are maybe not your strengths, or maybe not Brad's strengths, but together collectively, as we bring them all together, man, we're getting the whole package together. You know, I'm able to do design work. Y'all are doing the real-time testing and data collection and things like that out there in the world, feeding stuff back to me, bouncing ideas off each other, getting the stuff produced, getting it out there, getting it tested. And, you know, it's coming together, and it's working great.
It's awesome, man. So really, like, over the next week or so, you'll start to see all the stuff get added to the website. Hammer's going to go through some of his favorite things that he's been working on, and some of the stuff he's most excited about. But along with that, our tab selection has really, like, probably quadrupled today.
You know, really, I mean, it's when you develop a product line, it's you're not really creating a lot of new things. And those things are out there and available. What takes a lot of work is bringing all of those things and the SKUs together. You know, when I started tracking the parts, when we started getting this line together, you know, it started out as 5 lines on an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And that thing has grown into a monstrosity of SKUs that you got to manage, you know. So there's an incredible amount of work in getting a product line together.
And like what Hammer's saying, like, a lot of stuff, you're not going to have something that's completely unique. It's just, you know, a Zeus tab is a Zeus tab. A weight tab is a weight tab. But what we're trying to do is, you're here, we have a lot, we're very fortunate to have a lot of people that really support what we're doing, and they want to order stuff from us, which, man, that's such a high compliment. But when you come and order stuff, you know, you don't want to pay shipping twice. You don't want to do all this stuff. You want to be able to grab what you need, and then, hey, I could use a couple other small things. You can throw that in the cart. And through our partnership with Ham, he's really helped us get stocked to where, I mean, there's, you know, hundreds of pieces, you know, to where, you know, shipping's faster, the product's on hand. If we need more, like, I think what we try to do with these videos is we want to give you an idea of, like, hey, this isn't Amazon, but we're trying. You know, when I'm out here shipping stuff and getting stuff boxed up, a lot of times my wife's here, you know, Tara's pregnant at the moment. So, like, that's got its whole intricacies. But my kids might be out here in this little area that we ship stuff. The boys eat lunch out here. Everything happens in this little space. So like when you guys are buying stuff from us, it's not this big warehouse. It is literally this small business of people that are trying to do as best as we can to get them out. Like I joked one time that you might have pictures drawn on your boxes because Emmy was out here just going crazy, and like, so we just really appreciate what you guys do for us, and in return, we're trying to make what we do better. We're never going to be Amazon, but we can be better at sending parts to you faster and having the available inventory. And that's something that you're helping us do to track that stuff. I've never used an Excel spreadsheet a day in my life. All right.
I'll help you out with that.
Yeah. And you're like the most organized person I've ever met. Like my wife's really organized also, but yeah. So we're gonna have more product in stock all the time. Really better stuff. A lot of stuff for our heart has always been. For the local small chassis shop to provide parts that are good, that Hammer's got some builder kits he's going to talk about, because as a smaller shop you don't have the buying power, you don't have you may not have access to a local laser shop or whatever. So we're trying to make your profit margin go up by being able to buy a builder kit and have the jig to be able to put this thing together. So that you can make a little bit more money for your time. So not only are you making the money on the install, but you're also making some money on putting it together. Or if you're a DIY guy, Brad and I, we are Turbo LS guys, probably till we die, because we're cheap. and with that, like, when you would think, like, because we build these high-end race cars, like our own race car, we are absolutely pinching pennies. We are trying to figure out where we can spend our money. Like, yeah, sure, we could buy that, but we're just going to make it because it's going to save us a few $100s. And we want to pass that along to the guy that's at his house that's got a welder that's willing to jump in and do more himself to try to save the money here and there. So.
Right, and that's one of the fundamental principles in the foundation of developing this product line was, I come from a poor family, pretty much nothing, and Brad and I, he's for guys that necessarily can't afford, the super nice billet this or that. Let's try and come up with a solution that meets the full spectrum of guys that are looking for a capability at a budget, but you also are going to the other end of the spectrum for the guys, the all the way nice stuff that affords the same capability. So what we try to do is take a capability and come up with different price points for that capability to be able to meet the different demographic of people that are wanting to purchase these products.
Yeah, that's great, man. And like you said, like, I think what we've always tried to do is make a brand that includes everybody. That the guy that's got the Turbo LS Fox body, he's here and he needs these parts, and the guy that's got the RVW or the Pro Mod car, we can service them the same way. So that hopefully, and one boy, his truck's in the shop now, but a long time ago he had a Corvette and he just needed this 3-bolt flange welded on this, and it's just a street car, right? And he would always come in the shop and look at the cars, and he'd be like, man, I want one of these one day. So I welded this thing up for him, and it took me like 3 seconds. It's no big deal. And he's like, what do I owe you? I'm like, man, you don't owe me nothing, because you'll build a race car one day, and then you'll pay us a lot of money. And his car's out in the shop now like 3 or 4 years later. So like it does, there's a natural progression of where a customer starts and where their means are at this point to where that they might end up in 10 years. And we want to be able to service that guy and him feel as valuable when he buys the $100 part to when he buys the $20,000 part. And that's something that I've always, as the shop's growed, I love having the one-on-one connection with people. And unfortunately, as you grow, you don't get that as much, right? We still try to have that, but it's just, it's sometimes it's unrealistic.
Yeah, and I mean, and some of the cool parts about designing this product line is your identity and business is pretty much in, the radio tower world, and some of the background and where I was groomed is more the big tire stuff, you know. So really coming up with a happy medium and blending the two together, you know. I don't think TSR is going to be radial tire forever. You know, as things start to evolve and grow, and as business grows, you know, you start venturing out into other realms, you know, to be more full spectrum.
Yep.
You know, but you got to start somewhere to get somewhere, and that's where we're at right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely, you know, we're in this for the long-term success. We're not in it for just the here and the now. We want to be a shop that services people for years to come. And, you know, generationally, we want to have something that we can all leave our kids, something that they're proud of, something that, you know, we're really big on dreaming. I know that we're kind of taking this in a whole different tangent, but like, this was our dream to start this, to get going, and we want to inspire others to do the same. Like, there's a lot of negativity in the world, but the American dream is still alive and well, and what you're doing to protect it on the other side is really cool. But you can still make a really good living by working for yourself and following a passion. If the work ethic is there, you can do it.
That's right. You know, and with anything, you know, there's opportunity costs. What you're giving up to what you're willing to get. And I guarantee, you know, there's a lot of days where, you know, mama wants you at the house, or, you know, your kids want you to play, you know, and my wife is awesome. You know, there's a lot of things sacrificially that my family does for me to pursue the things that I do. But when we make decisions, we make them together.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't do what I do for me. You know, I do it for you, I do it for you, I do it for everyone else. You know, I try and take something and make it better or leave it better, and that's what I aim to do.
Yeah, and you're doing a great job of that, man. You really are. So we can stand up for a minute. I'm gonna let Brian talk and show you some cool stuff, and then we'll have some links and stuff up later. But
all right, so in spirit of what we're trying to accomplish, and that's covering the full spectrum from the budget person on to, you know, people that have the money to be able to spend on all the way nice stuff. One of the common things right now in the racing community is these adjustable 4-link brackets. And we have a billet model coming. It's just, it hasn't been manufactured yet. It's in that process right now. But again, in spirit with the people on a budget, what we did is took the bracket and we broke it down into a layered portion to where you can weld them together. This is 4130 material that's layered together to give you the capability without sacrificing strength. So if you would, will you hold that up?
Yeah.
Jason, thank you. You know, you can see that when you clean up all these edges and weld 360 degrees around all these spaces, you're pretty much coming up with one uniform bracket to create that fine-tuned adjustability base. And with that, you know, these brackets, the geometry, I worked hard to get the geometry to support both small and big tire. And the range that it supports is a 28 to a 35-inch tire. And what it does is fine-tune adjustment in the 1/8-inch adjustment range. Again, the capability exists out there. We're just taking that capability, tweaking it to what we need it to be, and making it affordable for anybody that wants to have this.
so this will come just as it won't be welded together like you see this. It will come, and what Hammer's saying, it will come in with the layers, with all the different pieces that you see assembled here.
Right, and the hind brackets, you know, they'll have doublers. Again, all the materials 4130 normalized. You know, the doublers will weld on. It'll come with grade 9 hardware, 12-point hardware, nice stuff. And the price point on these is going to be $795.
So, yeah, I think for the money, for $795, this is a whole lot of capability for not a whole lot of money, you know.
That's right.
So, and like Hammer said, that we will, you know, we're working on an all billet version of this, but the principle is exactly the same. So it gives you just more, you know, fine-tuned adjustment, and the geometry is something that people don't. You just see a set of 4-link brackets and you just think that's a 4-link bracket, right? but it's not.
Right.
Like there's a lot of, just 5 minutes before we end here, Brad and Hammer were out there on 4-link calculators looking at different links of different things, so what I think and I'll pick on Brad and Hammer, they're not great at showing you what all this stuff is to get to the point to where it's like, oh, this is a really cool bracket. But what it takes to get to this really cool bracket at that price point is an insane amount of work, and they are literally putting these numbers in the 4-link calculators, trying to figure out what the best that will fit for a big, small, and everywhere in between to provide you with the best geometry that's possible. And with the partnership with us, like what Hammer's saying, this stuff gets track tested. It's, you're getting a knowledge base behind it.
Right, and I'm proficient with SolidWorks, and I'm getting deeper and deeper into the modeling and the stresses and being able to do the stress modeling and take it to that next level to know before we even take this thing out there and put it on a car that it passes certain load parameters.
What else you got?
All right, so next thing.
Are we talking about the axle side?
Yeah.
Since you're already talking about the brackets.
Yeah,
Well,
I just meant the rear brackets.
yeah, we'll get there here in a minute. Save that for last. So common, with any radial tire car that's starting to make any type of power is these torque box replacements. And there's a lot of them out there that look a lot alike because there's not much you can do to change the overall look of it. The geometry has to stay pretty much the same, especially on a Fox body, because it just takes a little bit and you're outside the usable range for adjustment on those to be useful on the track. So what we did is we took this kit. You're going to pay $400 or $500 for one of these from one of the big name companies, and we brought it in to where it's a builder kit. And are you able to bring the camera over here to kind of focus on this area? We took the pieces for the kit and broke them down to where anybody can purchase this kit and build it themselves. So the main brackets, we didn't break them because if you use 4130 normalized, you're going to get cracking on the steep bend. So what we did is we made these flat plates to where you could either do a mild version or chromoly version without having to change any of the geometry or change up what the skews are. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a full kit, and our spacers we also have available will hold these at the right width apart. And if you look here, this is at an angle, it's coped to where it will fit perfectly on this straight bar. Everything's included with this kit that you see pictured right here. What you'll need to supply is your 1 5/8 tube, your 1 1/4 lower tube, and any hardware that you may need. Additionally, because it is a builder kit and it's likely that you're going to use this kit on the existing car, we put these holes to be able to use an 1/8" Cleco to hold them to the frame rail at the right angles as you're fabricating this thing together.
Yep. And that's one of the reasons that we get messages all the time, do you make a torque box? And one of the reasons that us personally have never got into that business is I'm wearing one of the guys' shirt. This is Tim Lyons, which Tim is, gosh, he's such an awesome guy, man. And Tim, Tim made torque boxes forever ago, and we've used them, and then Marty makes them. There's a lot of people that make these boxes, so we didn't really want to go down that road. There's plenty. If you're wanting to buy a whole unit, there's plenty of people out there that make a really nice product. So there's no sense in that. But we did feel like there was significant value in the builder kit. And then the other cool thing that we sell is these plates are a little different. So we actually now manufacture replacement Fox body frame rails. Which those were something that you could buy from like one of the replacement parts suppliers. Mm-hmm. They sold a blank kit, which that's something that we've used for years, is just buying this blank, it's for a Fox body, but it's a brand new rail. Because most of the cars you cut apart, they're rusty, all that stuff, you're trying to get all the spot welds off of them, it's just a nightmare. So we knew that we needed some sort of replacement rail for that. that was accepting to the torque box kit. So something that's unique to this is the Fox body frame rails that we sell actually have holes in them to where they actually cleco onto the holes that are on the aftermarket rails that we sell. So that way it helps locate all that stuff. So for instance, you could actually buy from us a stock suspension back half kit for a Mustang. Now you're gonna have to weld it all together, but you're gonna get the frame rails, you can get the upper and lower torque boxes. The lower boxes that Hammer designed actually go right onto to those frame rails. So it's an all-inclusive kit to back half the car without really even using any of the stock stuff. Now I know the biggest question was, is this still stock style suspension? You know, Sears has seen the frame rails. He's approved them because they are very, very similar to the factory pieces. They just don't have all the dimples, all that stuff.
Yeah, they don't alter the geometry at all. What they do is where you take your notch on a Fox body and you do the mini tub and you notch all the way. I mean, guys are doing a single sheet, you know, from the back of the notch back, you know. What we did is took that plane and made it flat until the S-turn behind the wheels, pretty much the exact same geometry as the standard factory Fox body frame rail. But what it does is make a nice mating surface for carbon tubs and stuff like that. Additionally, you're not going to get the compound angles like you get on these with the factory frame rail. These will be mounted flat with the frame rail.
So yeah, so it's a great way to, you know, have a top level car build. Basically, you know, you still have to have the skill to put it together, but you can get top level parts to build something that's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, and additionally, I mean, we went with thin gauge steel on them too, and the weight savings is pretty substantial over a factory frame rail.
Yeah, we've wore you out with the weight.
I don't know, this I know.
So yeah, we're really big components of, you know, like I said, elegantly designed. Like we try not to overbuild stuff because, dude, weight matters. My background with that, my dad's an NHRA Superstock guy. So he's always looking for every little thing, and that's something he's always passed on to me. And so everything that we build, and Brad is super good about that. Like, you know, we don't typically use a lot of exotic metals, things like that in the cars, but we really try to think about what we're doing, how we're doing it, and you know, stuff like that.
So price point for this, $200 for the builder kit. Again, you have to supply your own hardware, supply your tube, but you'll get the main components to be able to make the upper torque box. We also will have the lower torque box kit, which we don't have out here to demo just for the sake of time. It'll be available as well for $200. So for $400, most of those kits are $900 to $1,000. You put a little elbow grease, a little bit of time fabricating these things together, you can have a nice setup.
Yep. What else, Sam?
All right, so I've worked really hard over the last few years developing a bracket system, and we have achieved non-provisional patent pending status on this setup. And what we're doing is taking the 1/8 inch adjustability from the chassis. Once it's on the chassis, it's stuck on the chassis, it's there for the life of the chassis. The only way to get that capability is to cut stuff out and put it back on the chassis. So what we did is we took that capability and we moved it to the housing. And again, within the spirit of trying to keep things economical for both the guy on a budget as well as the guy that has the money to spend on all the way nice, we have an all billet version, which we have here on the housing for our display model. And we also have the version with the layered steel option. Additionally, we're playing around with some finish options. You know, with my artistic background, you know, we're always trying to push that envelope with not just, you know, actual features of whatever it is that you're doing, but those aesthetic features and the appeal that comes in with it. So we're working with some clear chromate finishes, some different types of powder coating finishes, as well as, you know, black oxide, and trying different effects with those to achieve a better look.
Yeah. And this is huge, man, because like what Hammer said, if you have an existing car that has existing 4-link brackets in it, to get this adjustability is very difficult. You have to cut the brackets of the car. It's got to make a trip to the chassis shop. So in theory, you could do this all without ever cutting on the car. You could build you a new
it's
housing.
replaceable. You put the capability on the housing. You put the housing up under a car that has traditional 4-link brackets, and you have the fine-tune capability.
Yeah, and really, man, like that's something that you don't need all of it. Like you don't need it on both sides. If you have it on one side, man, that's a huge benefit. So.
Right, and it's this fine-tune capability is the difference between being perfect or being just outside of perfect.
Yeah.
So we wanted to be able to have that capability for all people in the spectrum, and anybody that wants it, they can have it in any existing car.
Cool. So, do we have any questions or? Oh, yeah. So, but really, man, we just over the next couple days, you'll start to see this stuff trickle onto the website. Everything that will be listed will be in stock. I think we have 8 sets of these. So these are, like Hammer said, these are $7.95. We have 8 sets of these in stock right now, ready to ship. So hopefully later on today, I'll get the link up for that stuff. And then after we get done today, I'll probably end up going out. I'll take some pictures of all the inventory and stuff, the things that we got, and just show you how. I mean, man, it's insane how much stuff we have.
Yeah, and I mean, it's something else. These we're going to release our housing kits and start offering those as well. If people want a nice housing kit, opt from the normal 5 side to something that's like this, we're going to make that available to anybody that wants to purchase them and build them themselves. I additionally make the Fab 9 fixtures to make these things as well. I try and kind of keep that side of the business at a minimal. When I say a minimal, I'll do a certain amount of those at a certain time frame, and then I'll get them out because they're very labor intensive. And again, like we talked about earlier, opportunity costs. If I'm not designing, if I'm not doing this or that, it makes it difficult to cover the bases. So some features with the housing itself. There are some out there that they look similar, but really there's a lot of differences in them. Instead of looking at the similarity, people should be looking at what the differences are rather than those similarities. Ours that I know of was the only one out there with 11 sides, and any break in the banjo itself is going to be strength. So we tried to get as many breaks in there. It took a while to get the BIM program figured out for this thing, but we got it figured out, and it works good. Additionally, we use all 3.5-inch tubes, which the bigger the OD of the tube, you can get down to a thinner wall and have this same structural integrity as a smaller OD tube. So we just opted and went all in on the 3.5-inch tube. Additionally, our back brace is one piece, so it's broke to where it is one uniform piece that goes from one side of the housing to the other side of the housing, which creates another tremendous amount of strength. So there are some key principles there that we implemented, just my engineering background, to make this thing as tough as possible to last a lifetime.
And it looks really pretty.
Thanks. We try. I mean, the endless hours that you spend prepping the metal on these things, anybody that does these and preps the metal, I have the utmost respect for you because there's a lot of work that goes into it.
It is, man, yeah. So,
and additionally, we're going to offer these in the 1/4-inch faceplate to the general public. However, if you want the 1/2-inch O-ring faceplate version, you're going to have to either go through Jason and Brad to get one or come through me to have one made.
Yeah, and we're going to do a strict interview process.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. We actually got to send us some weld samples, and
That's right. That's right.
So, and any questions, Zach? We good? So cool. Well, the major thing is we just wanted you to know that Brian Ham is not, he is not just rear end housing. There he is. And like I said, we're going to do more videos, stuff like that. While Hammer's here, we're going to film some other stuff to be put on the website later, just so you kind of have access to some of this information as time goes on. So I think that's it. You did good, man. You were super nervous, but you
I'm not a people person.
I mean, you're pretty much Bob Barker, I can be your pretty sidekick, So, but we appreciate everybody. I'm sure not a ton of people watching just because it is Saturday.
One last thing. Like, as people watch this, I'm all about innovation design. If you have ideas for stuff that you thought, might be something cool, or you may not have seen it out there, hit me up, and it might be something that we could develop and get something new out there. the racing world stuff, it's, you know, it kind of changes a little bit, but for the most part, everything's pretty much established. Matter of fact, you know, a 9-inch rear end has been around for how many decades?
Yeah, a
A
long time.
bunch, you know,
Yeah.
but it just continues to evolve and change, but it's still the same base thing, you know.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
as you guys have innovative ideas, just hit me up, bounce them off me, and maybe we could work something out and bring something new to the world.
My microphone fell down in between my boobies. But all right, guys. Well, we appreciate you watching, and have a good day. See you. Yeah, you did good. Sarah said she could hear me deep breathing because the microphone was so good.